All right, question number 3. We're given a function and we have several parts that we want to answer. So first we have our function f of x is equal to 4x squared minus x minus 3. And part A wants to know, is the point -2, 15 on the graph? -2, 15. All right, so what they're giving us is that the -2 is the x value, 15 is the y. We're going to plug in -2 for x and see if all of this equals 15. If it does, it's on the graph. If it does not, it's not. So we're going to say f of -2, plugging in a 2 for x, will give us 4 times -2 squared minus, and then in parentheses a -2. Every time I plug in x, you plug it in parentheses, and then minus 3. So don't confuse your negative with the minus that was already there. You have to have both. All right, when you evaluate this, 4, 16 plus 2 minus 3, this will give us 18 minus 3 is 15. So we do get 15, so it checks out. That point is on the graph. So we will say yes. Substituting the -2 for x will give us 15. All right, B, we're now going to do x equals -1. Now, you can plug this in and solve it by hand. I also want to show you that you can do this with a calculator. So what I'm going to do with this calculator is I'm going to insert this function. So I'm going to clear out what I have. If you go to y equal, and I'm going to, on the other side of y, because f of x is treated as y, I'm going to type in the function 4x squared minus x minus 3. All right, when I do this, I'm going to hit second and then the graph. So when you hit second, you got this upward arrow. It's saying we're pointing to the yellow words, and then I'm going to hit graph. And it shows me if you plug in a 0 for x, a 1 for x, all of these are the y values that you would get. All right, so one of them we did was -2. So if I have to arrow up, kind of see that -2 corresponds to 15. And this question is asking me about -1. So if I plug in -1, we get a 2 for my y value. Okay, but we're also going to do it by hand. I just want you to be able to use that method as a check. So I'm going to do f of -1. We should get 2 based on what we just saw. So 4 times -1 squared minus, in parentheses, -1 minus 3. See if we get 2. So -1 squared is 1 times 4 gives us 4 plus 1 minus 3. 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 minus 3 gives us 2. Okay, so 2 is the answer that we get. All right, so now there's an extended part. It says using the information from the previous step, you want to list the points on the graph of f where x equals -1. So what they want you to understand is that this -1 is the x value. The end result is the y value, giving you an overall ordered pair. So x was -1, the y value that corresponds to that was 2. That's what we got when we solved it. So now they want you to type the ordered pair. So here we're going to type -1, 2. All right, now part C. This one says if f of x equals -3. So now they're giving you the y value and they ask x equals. So just a little reverse of what we've been doing. So understand that f of x is equal to y. All right. F of x on the left side means I'm going to replace that whole f of x with a -3. And then I'm going to write my equation on the right, which was 4x squared minus x minus 3. All right. We're going to add 3 to both sides. So we're going to go with our quadratic solving process, setting one side equal to 0. And this gives us 0 equals 4x squared minus x. And this will now be 0. So we just have 4x squared minus x. And then to solve this, we're going to factor. All right. So we have 0 equals, we can factor x from both terms. That will leave us with 4x minus 1. All right, and now we're just going to set each term equal to 0. So we have x equals 0 is one possibility. And then we're going to do 4x minus 1 equals 0. And then solving for x, you would add 1, divide by 4, and you would get x equals 1/4. So we get 2 x values when we plug a -3 for y. We get 0 and we get 1/4. So here we're going to type those in, separate answer with a comma, 1/4. All right, now there's an extension here. It says using the information in the previous step, we want to list the points of the graph of f, where f of x or where the y value is 3. So we're going to do those ordered pairs. Y is -3 and x we got 0. So we're going to do 0, comma, -3. You have to be careful that you put those in the proper order. Then you separate your answers with a comma. So now we have another ordered pair. This time x was 1/4. That's the other x value we got. And that's going to be separated, comma, -3. And then close it up. So we get 2 ordered pairs, 2 x values that are paired with -3. All right, what is the domain of f? So recall, when we look at a function, we look for a fraction that causes restrictions. We look for a square root, even square root, which causes restrictions, and logarithm. This problem has neither, so your domain is all real. So in interval notation, we're going to do -infinity to +infinity. Now we're also going to look for the x-intercepts of the graph. So when we find x-intercepts, remember the y value is 0. So our equation 4x squared minus x minus 3, this was 0 equals, so we're setting the y value equal to 0, and then we're going to try to factor if possible. If not, we'll do quadratic formula. So we have to multiply the 4 and the 3, that will give us 12. Looking for factors of 12 that we subtract to get 1, and that will give us 3 times 4. Alright, so 2 sets of parentheses. I'm going to put a 4 in the front of both because of this leading coefficient. Split up the x squared and the 3 and the 4. We're going to put those in the back of the parentheses. Going left to right, first sign is your bigger number, so negative goes to the bigger number, which is 4. Second sign tells me they're different, so this has to be a plus. This is not right, having a 4 in the front of both, so we have to reduce and simplify that. So 4 and 3 we cannot simplify, so we will leave it as 4x plus 3. 4 and 4 we can, so that will be x minus 1 when you divide both of them by 4. So we get this as factored form, but we want the x-intercept, so we have to solve for x. So we're going to say 4x plus 3 equals 0, and x minus 1 equals 0. Subtract 3, divide by 4, so we will get x equals -3 divided by 4. And then we just add 1 here, so we get x equals 1. So here are our 2 x-intercepts. So we're going to do -3 divided by 4, then comma, +1. Now we want to list the y-intercepts. So parabola, where it crosses, this time x is 0. If we refer back to what we've previously done, we did get a value where x was 0 down here. So when we plug the -3 for y, we got x was 0, so we don't actually have to go back and plug a 0 in. Even if we do, it's not that much work. So y-intercept, you plug a 0 for x, so that means 4 times 0 squared. This whole term is going to multiply to go to 0. Minus, you plug in a 0 for x, goes to 0. And then minus 3. So you get, when x is 0, y is a -3. So this is your y-intercept right here. Plugging in 0 to find y-intercept is not that bad. So -3.